Racism is working exactly as it was designed. And oh, by the way, those of you that think, hey, we did this in the 60s, you'd be wrong. That was one of many, 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 many steps. And mostly it was a step in a dismantling process that was still building and constructing itself. Let's go all the way back to the start of the United States of America. And the moment we stepped foot on the property that is now the United States of America, in those days was something that was inhabited by the Native Americans here, whom we proceeded to slaughter or put into slavery. And along with us came a whole number of people from primarily Africa, but other locations as well, who had a non-white color to their skin and were not considered full human beings. They were 3/5 of a person and considered property, not human beings. As time went on here in the United States of America, we built systems of law and systems of economics and systems of education to which all of these populace were excluded. Many people think Abraham Lincoln created emancipation of slavery, and all of these people who had been property were now given citizenship. There were a few catches. It wasn't full freedom. And in many cases, they were set up to be picked up by the police as vagrants, therefore having a legal barrier to ever becoming a citizen. As the years went on, legislation would be made, the Supreme Court would overturn it or modify it to a point where it undermined the principle that the original legislation was going after. In the banking system, we think about redlining. I know it's a jargony term. Sounds like you're trying to eliminate something. But the funny thing is, what they did was create districts where the people that were able to buy homes in those districts were buying homes at a lower price point, which meant lower property tax, which meant lower funding at the state level for education. From the very roots, we've created the marginalized populations that today are the source of all of the injustice that we think about. So the system's working exactly as it was designed. Yusef Salaam, Dr. Yusef Salaam, who is one of the 5 who were the exonerated 5 from a court case in New York City, he has spoken about this quite extensively, and I think quite beautifully and with great grace and respect. This is not a discussion for the faint of heart. All of us have made a contribution, whether you know it or not, simply by pursuing the privilege that's associated with people who are white. We all participate in this up to this day. In some ways, people of color who have fought valiantly for representation in government, for changing the laws, for participating in the PTA and being able to create movements for changes in our education and changes in the history that we teach and understanding what it means to be a good citizen. In so many ways, as my good friend Esther would say, Black people learned how to be white people, but white people have never had to learn how to be Black people. And in that we can see the disparity. What we tolerate and what we condone with our silence continues to perpetuate a system that was constructed by design to create advantage. In some ways, we're really talking about restoring a new foundation, or you might think an old one. There was a time in the world's history when we didn't discriminate based on the color of skin. There are parts of the world where that's also true, However, they are few and far between. We even see disparity within any category of identity. In parts of the world where the color of the skin is black, there is discrimination depending on whether you're black enough or you're too black. There is many ways in which we discriminate and marginalize parts of the population. And this is true everywhere in the world. Sometimes it's your last name and what ethnicity that refers to. Sometimes it is your economic status associated with the role you have. Sometimes it's your gender or your sexual preferences. We find ways to separate each other rather than celebrating the uniqueness of each other and seeing what the tapestry is. I know that might sound a little Pollyannish, but it hasn't always been so, that we've been so at odds with each other, afraid that if I didn't have control and dominance, I might just lose my identity, my right to exist. That's a big threat, and it's understandable that it's actually creating the kind of pain and suffering we see today. And yet the way out is the way in. If we cannot see that the system we've built is operating as designed, as Dr. Yusuf Salaam has said so eloquently, we will miss dismantling that design and constructing something new that has respect and the right to equal existence by all parts of humanity, to the abundance that's available here on planet Earth. In 2003, when I decided to launch a new organization, and I called it Invite Change, this was my way of recognizing that we must each accept responsibility for creating the life experience that we most want. And the one I most want is the one where we're shaping a world where everybody loves their life's work, whether that's being a parent, a teacher, or the president of your country, and everything in between, which means that we've found a way to see fully and truly who each person is, pulling back the blinders of our biases and our assumptions and replacing it with genuine curiosity. To invite change means that we allow that responsibility that we're accepting to broaden what we see, what we perceive, what we experience, that we approach with a sense of wonder and a mindset that each one of us is whole and resourceful, capable beyond measure, and innately creative, and that we're so much more together than we are separated. In fact, the energy we spend to separate in comparison and competition is liberated and can be brought forward and channeled in a way that rises the waters for every boat on the ocean. So, if you want to invite change in your life, that means it's important to pause the way you're seeing yourself now and follow the dream that you aspire to. Allow yourself time to anticipate the ways you might renegotiate your life and construct relationships where you're adapting to something that is more expansive and uses more of your potential. In this way, when we align behind our core values with all of who we are, that's the promise of humanity as we move forward.